This is the Darren Paltrocast with Darren Paltrowitz.
Paltrocast.
I've been interviewing musicians, comedians, and all sorts of entertainers for almost 20 years. Joan Rivers, Flavor Flav, Paris Hilton, members of Guns N' Roses and the Eagles, and countless others. This show is about artists and why they do what they do.
Paltrocast.
On this edition of the Paltrocast, which I'm recording live from the Hilton Columbus Easton Hotel in beautiful Columbus, Ohio, I spoke with three very successful entertainers from very different walks of life. Judas Priest singer Rob Halford, TOTO guitarist and prolific session musician Steve Lukather, and Leah Van Dale, an actress and dancer also known for portraying Carmella in the WWE. First up is my phone interview with Rob Halford from Judas Priest. Rob and band are still touring the world in support of the Judas Priest studio album Firepower. We spoke about his years living in the U.S., his love of theater, and his creative process, in addition to some other great topics.
Hello, Darren. Good to speak with you. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling you from my beautiful home in Paradise Valley in Phoenix, where it's just hit 100 degrees.
Wow. Lucky. It's actually the spring there.
It is. Yes, it is. Absolutely. And it's been interesting to go through the last few weeks over here, to go from some chilly night. A chilly night in Phoenix is in the 50s, and now we're hurtling to triple digit time. So I'm about to leave shortly and head over to Florida and escape the desert for a bit. But I get back at the end of the Firepower tour after Las Vegas. I'm back in Phoenix like Independence Day week, so it'll be roaring and boiling by then, that's for sure.
Well, I remember seeing video of you singing the national anthem at a Diamondbacks game around 20 years ago. When did you first move to Arizona?
Oh, wow, yeah. Hey, that's so cool that you asked about that, Darren, because let me think. I can't remember how quickly that came about. It was a very special moment, wasn't it? That venue is phenomenal. I haven't been in there for years. The Diamondbacks are doing pretty good at the moment. I think I moved into the Valley around 81, and it's a magical place for me. It's a bit like my heavy metal Shangri-La, it still is. Even though I saw on the news last night that this is like the largest, Maricopa County is the largest growing county in the United States right now, and that's quite spectacular. And I can sense that when I drive around town in 2019 as opposed to 1981, you can tell the vast difference. It's a great place. It's a wonderful place. Yeah. I'm still a Brit at heart, but I'm also what we call a desert rat. So I split my life between the two places, and I love to be in Phoenix when the opportunity arises.
Well, you're not the only heavy metal legend or hard rock legend that lives around that area. I believe Dave Mustaine's around there. I know Alice Cooper grew up around there. What is it that you think that attracts, the hard rock legends to specifically the Phoenix area?
Well, we're a simple commute to Los Angeles, which, LA, don't need to say any more about that being the place that it is for entertainment. And I don't know, it is a pretty extreme place, Phoenix, as far as that summertime desert heat. We are literally in the middle of the desert. And there's just something very attractive about that to musicians' creativity, I think. It's hard to describe, but the great state of Arizona is a beautiful place. I mean, you get in the car and drive a couple of hours north of here, and things start to cool down. You get into the high country. You say goodbye to the cactus and hello to the pine trees. And you're up through Flagstaff, Prescott, Sedona, beautiful Grand Canyon. It's just got a lot of things going for it in many, many ways. But there's a thriving community here, musically and otherwise. So, and it's still got a little bit of that, what's left of the embodiment of the wild west. There's very little of that left in the United States that I remember when I first came here in the late 70s. So, a lot of good things happening in Phoenix right now.
Well, tying that in with your career, anybody I know who's seen Judas Priest in the last 5 years, the first thing that they comment about is, wow, Rob is still singing at a high level. He sounds as good as ever. Now, does your living in a hot climate like that have anything to do with your vocal care, that you wanted to be around that as opposed to being in a colder place where it might be harder to sing?
Well, I would certainly say that your environment, the place that you're living in, has some kind of reflection on your performance. Vocally, for some people, it's a nightmare because it's a dry heat, and vocalists generally need to have that kind of, the elements of the weather working for you, because your vocal cords are precious things, and I've been using mine for nearly 50 years now, But no, I went from one extreme to the other. Being born and raised in the Midlands, the home of heavy metal, and what wasn't, and to some extent still is, the home of the steel and the iron industry. Walking to school as a kid, I'd be breathing in the fumes of heavy metal from the factories and the foundries, even before the music was born. So you mix that up from where I was as a little kid to this beautiful place, and I'm sure that all kind of plays into the texture of your role as a musician, and definitely into your performance.
Your latest album, Firepower, really is an album that a lot of Judas Priest fans felt that was your strongest in many years, because a lot of the songs sound like singles, yet at the same time it's still very, very heavy. Did you guys spend a lot more time writing that than the past few records?
Being in a band is like being in any team, and particularly, I always make the analogy between being in a band and being in sports, because the great things come out of teamwork, and it's a 5-man team in Priest. So all of that rehearsing and hustling and building your game plan, so to speak, happens before you even start creating the songs. And that was the case with the Firepower record. Our game plan was just to try and get all of the great elements of Priest and focus in on them. When I say elements, I mean the things that we've done for nearly 50 years. Focus in on all of those really important, vital elements of Priest and make them all kind of coalesce and give us a direction. And the direction was to, get this great classic vibe, this great classic texture the Priest has always had. And that's how we kicked it off. Now, I think, again, once you've got your game plan and everybody's going for the same direction, getting into the hoop, getting into the back of the net, you then work as a team to write your songs, write your music. And the days that we had writing as a team, Glenn and Richie and myself, are terribly exciting. With creativity, with your game plan, some days work better than others. Some days you kind of hit a wall and you can't quite make things click and connect. And then other days, it's flowing, it's non-stop. And those are the great days. So I think we took about maybe a month, maybe 2 months, very, very tops, to map out all of the material for Firepower before we went into full production. But, man, it was just a great record to write. We're still thriving in the success of Firepower as we go out back on the road for the last leg of the US Canadian tour that kicks off soon.
And it was about a decade that you were out of Priest, and you were very prolific as a solo artist and with your side bands and all that. And a lot of people really loved the album Resurrection. Do you think there's any chance that we might hear any of the material from that, or Two, or Fight? Do you have any plans to do solo tours or anything at any point?
I think you never close the door on those possibilities, those opportunities. My band for life has always been Judas Priest. Even when I was away from the band, I felt connected. When you step away from your anchor, you tend to drift off into different directions. And I had wonderful times with the Halford guys, and the same with Johnny from John Five, who's now with Zombie, and has worked with Manson and a bunch of other great people. And he's a very talented player in his own right. Takes his own John Five and the Creatures on the road. you think linking up with Trent Reznor, who produced that record with Ray Ogilvy from Skinny Puppy, and then the fight record with JJ and Brian and Russ Parrish, Satchel from oh Lord, excuse me, I can't
Steel
remember
Panther.
Panther, yeah. So, yeah, here's the deal. The songs are always there, aren't they? And I still hear these songs now and again on the radio. And when you hear the songs, it gives you a buzz. You go, I wonder what would it be like if we got, if we hooked up again and just had a jam and maybe took it on the road for a show here and there. Anything's possible. I think the last thing you do in life is say no. Don't say no. In these areas that we're discussing. So we'll wait and see. I'm absolutely committed to Priest 1,000%, and we have so much more work to do. But if the opportunity arises, we'll look at it then.
Well, is there anything in your career that you haven't yet accomplished that you still want to? And I ask that because, you are a person that inspired generations of performers. You sold millions of records. You're still playing arenas, stadiums, and festivals around the world these many decades later. But is there anything you still haven't done that you hope to?
Well, some of it's the simple stuff. I keep, in recent days, talking to my friends about this tour and about the Firepower record. I've got this blues album in me that needs to come out. I love the blues. I listen to the blues nearly every day. And I haven't done that for a while, so I feel like my internal clock is heading towards the blues in some respects. I don't know what kind of blues record it would be because the blues is very eclectic and varied, much like metal to a certain extent. So there's that. And, I had a call many years ago from Elton John's people that wanted me to be in Aida, and I couldn't do it because I was really busy. So, and I was just talking to a friend earlier about a stage musical. They're going to go and see Wicked, which I can't wait to see because I've read the books by a great author. So I think that the stage, the musical, the showbiz Broadway side of the stage is something that I'd like to kind of dip my toe in the water for, regardless of how small it is. Because you see, when I left school, I worked in the theatre for a couple of years. I was about 15 or 16. And I stood on the side of the stage. I was a lighting guy. I went really quickly from working on the side of the stage to actually operating all the lights for a lot of the shows. So I saw all the greats, the British greats in all shapes and sizes, whether it was with repertory theatre, whether it was big operatic productions, whether it was variety, vaudeville. And I just loved that element of the singing performance wrapped up in theatre, So that's kind of still on my bucket list, which I hope to achieve at some point.
Yes, I hope to see that as well. So in closing, Rob, any last words for the kids?
Oh, yeah. Keep listening to metal. It's the best feeling in the world. It's just, it's a thrill. And if there's any, and I'm sure there are some young musicians or any kind of musician, if you've got the opportunity to be in any kind of band at any kind of level, cherish it, because it's the greatest feeling in the world, being in a band and either jamming together in a rehearsal room or the next level when you're playing to, a bunch of people that have come to see you. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. So, I send a shout out and good wishes to all of my fellow musicians, wherever they may be.
Next up is my chat with Steve Lukather, the TOTO guitarist who's played on thousands of albums. Luke also wrote a great-selling memoir last year, while TOTO is also about to release a comprehensive box set. This man has a lot of stories, and it was just a lot of fun to speak with. Hey, it's Darren. Thank you very much for your time, first and foremost. Am I getting you in Los Angeles today?
You are.
So you have a box set coming out. How long has that been in the works for?
Oh, God. Well, now, from the first time I pitched it to the heads of Sony in New York, probably 3.5 years, maybe more. I don't know, I forget. It was a big sell, because I managed the band now, too. So I went there and I told them, listen, we're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. There had been, they wanted to do it, and I said, well, let's do this right. And I wanted to remaster all the old albums from the un-EQ'd master tape, not the master of the master of the master, I wanted to go back to the egg, and we got Elliot Shiner from Steely Dan fame, and an old dear friend, and to come down with Gavin Lurson and Ruben, and all those guys over there, man. And we went through it chronologically from the first album to all the Sony stuff to the present day, and we recorded a brand new record. We found some old tracks and finished them, and it was a huge process, actually. And it was a celebration of our 40th anniversary of all the stuff that we had done. Now it's our 43rd anniversary, so that gives you an idea of what's going on here. Plus, we've been on the road for a year and a half, and we're going to keep going until the end of October, and then we're going to sit back and take a break for a second and see what happens next. But it's been a wild journey, I can tell you that.
Well, the era that I really, really got into Toto was Falling in Between. And I remember at the end of that album, you were kind of burnt
Really?
out.
Okay.
Well, you were kind of, publicly a little burnt out, and you said that this is kind of the end of the Toto, and, I don't really want to play a lot of these hit songs so much anymore. But now,
at the time, we had a singer that really couldn't sing, and it made it hard. It wasn't fun anymore, It was kind of like, it was painful. Poor guy. I mean, we're still pals. I mean, come to a point where if it's not there, it's not there.
Yet when I see you guys live now, because I've seen you since then, and I've seen a lot of videos, and of course you've got this major resurgence again, you guys look like you're having fun. So what is it that makes the old stuff fun to play again?
Well, first off, I'm with my childhood friends. But it's fun to play in front of an audience. I mean, I would never sit around my house and play Africa, you know what I mean? But definitely not. But when you get in front of, a big crowd that's singing along and there's a vibe in the room, I mean, that's the greatest buzz in the world. I mean, we don't get paid for the 2 hours plus on stage, man. That's free. We get paid for all the other wear and tear, the other, 20 hours a day that we're not, at the gig or traveling or whatever, That's the big payoff for us in playing the shows, so that never gets old.
Well, I'd imagine that for you personally, it never gets old because you're doing the Toto thing, you're doing the Ringo thing, you pop up at guitar clinics, you pop up in all-star projects. So it's the kind of thing where you might be playing an arena on Tuesday, an award show on Wednesday, and a club on Thursday.
Yes, that's been my whole career. Or the only thing left was a recording studio. You've just, in 4 words, described my entire life. Studio, gig, travel, whatever, the whole deal. Play live. It's been great. I mean, I blinked and 43 years went by. It's really scary because, I used to be the youngest guy in the room. Now it's like sir and all sorts of crazy shit. It's pretty wild.
Well, I like to describe the way that you are is that you're the guitar hero's guitar hero in that you can do all the shit.
I ain't all that, man. I'm not even close, but thanks. But no, man, I don't. No, man, I know all those guys, so.
In terms of guitar heroes, a lot of people look at Rivers Cuomo from Weezer as a guitar hero who kind of harnesses it but brings it out on occasion. And I'm curious if that was a band that you were familiar with before they started covering Toto.
Not really. I mean, I knew who they were. I heard a couple songs on the radio, which I thought were good. I wouldn't. I don't know what a guitar hero is, man. That means something to a lot of different people. Some people see a guitar hero as Yngwie Malmsteen. Some see it as Keith Richards. That depends on whatever blows your skirt up. I mean, the term guitar hero does conjure a certain thing, I suppose. But it's kind of like, does anybody really want to be the fastest gun in the West because everybody's trying to shoot you in the ass? It's a young man's game. When I was young, yeah, everybody is. I want to be the biggest, baddest, most ferocious cat in town. I hung around with all the guys, I made a little name for myself, I'm okay with all that, I mean, I'm not a Rolling Stone magazine favorite, our band never has been a hipster favorite, so we would never show up on any polls like that, but, in Guitar Player magazine and Around the World and all that stuff, I've been on the cover of all these magazines a lot of times and won polls and all that sort of stuff. But, that's not my motivation in life. It's nice, but, I just want to keep moving. I still practice. I still just got a new book that I'm excited about. I practice for me, not to be the biggest, baddest, fastest gun in the West, but to, open up new ideas, expand my harmonic vocabulary. For my personal things, I love to play the guitar. I love to make music. I would do this no matter what. It's just, I've done it since I was a single-digit kid. I'm still excited about music. It still makes me smile. I'm very, very blessed and grateful for my career to be able to write musician on my tax returns for 45 years. I had some terrible jobs when I was a young kid just to motivate me, but I've always been a musician and been busy and never been out of work. So knock wood, You hear that? That's wood. Nice wood deck.
Well, I do have a question about the wood deck in a couple of minutes, but before I get there, another interesting thing about your career is how many times you've been cool and uncool and cool again. And I'm wondering when you
I don't know if I've ever been cool, man. I mean, we were never the hipster band, man. We were always like, you either liked us or you didn't. We've hung in there. We took all of our punches, I'm like, okay, punch somebody else for a while, now people are giving it a second look. They're going, these guys played on a lot of records and they've survived a lot of crap. I mean, 2 brothers died in our band. What are the odds of that, We've withstood every bummer, every punch, every bad review, cruel stuff. I mean, people wanted to sterilize our parents and stuff like that, It was so bad it's funny. But no, man, you know what? I'm just happy to still be here. However it gets here. Some people have gotten into it, they never liked it, or they hated it, now they like it, or they used to like us, now they hate us because Africa's been played too much. I mean, I can't put my hands on it. I do know that we have like 3 generations of people showing up at our shows, and a lot of young people, because of the Weezer thing, because of all the EDM guys, DJs that have been playing Africa in their sets, Skrillex and What's So Not, who my son plays with. And all these other really cool DJs out there doing stuff. They've kept it for some reason. It just hit a nerve again, and hit a nerve way bigger than it did the first time it was a big record in 1982.
Well, I feel, though, that that's only been the American narrative, that you guys really
No,
never
it's a
went out of
worldwide
style
thing, man. We've always done really well worldwide, but in America now, we're finally catching up.
Right. Well, I had the pleasure of seeing you abroad about 10 years ago on the Fallen In Between tour in Japan, and you said a funny thing between one of the songs. You mentioned your deck before, where you said, "This next song bought me my house in the desert," as one of your banter pieces. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. What happened was my song "I Won't Hold You Back," which was on TOTO 4, was a big ballad. It was a big record. It was a number 1 record, and then some DJ grabbed my voice and sampled some stuff off of it and entered the UK charts at number 1, sold like 500,000 units in the UK alone, and then it spread all over Europe and all over the world, not America, ironically. It was a huge record, number 1 everywhere, every DJ, every dance club, blah blah blah, and the guy didn't get a license, so I had my people deal with it, and I got 90% of the royalties. So it bought me my house in the desert. I used to have that house, then I got divorced. Now I don't have that house. Isn't that some song somewhere? It's like Joe Walsh song, Life's been good.
Geez, I'm bringing up all the positive topics today.
No, it's fine. Dude, I survived all this crap. I mean, I got, it's 10 years ago. Well, I'm friends with everybody. We're cool. I got 4 wonderful children that I adore, and their mothers were great. They're great moms, what am I going to say? Nobody beat anybody or nothing like that. It's just, I have a very weird life and a very weird job. Not easy to hang on to.
Or actually a guy...
I'm laughing at myself. It's early in the morning.
You're somebody that did have success while they were in high school and right outside of high school, and unlike, I'm sure, a lot of your peers besides the fellow members of TOTO. And I'm wondering when you realized that this was going to be a lifelong career as opposed to just something you were going to do for a few years.
Probably when I was 9. I was in my first band because I saw the Beatles on the television on Ed Sullivan when I was 7. I got a guitar, Meet the Beatles, figured out how to play some of it, and then I started to have an aptitude for this thing. It's a weird story. It's in the book. It's sort of like one day I could play, the next day one day I couldn't play, the next day I could. It was very weird, almost like a on switch in my life. And it's a long story that I don't want to get into, but it just came really natural to me, and I was in a band immediately. So from when I was a little kid, I told my dad when I was 9 or 10, he patted me on the head. He goes, "So what are you going to do with your life, kid?" And I just said, "Oh, well, I'm going to be a musician. I want to be like the Beatles." My dad patted me on the head, and he was in show business behind the camera. You know, he was an assistant director. And he patted me on the head. He looked at me. He goes, "You know, at the time the Beatles were like what, 2, 3 years old. You know, and everybody was mad for it. You know, everybody wanted electric guitars and long hair and the whole bit. You know." But I said, "Look, I'm going to be like them. I want to play with them." You know, I said something goofy like that. My dad said, "You got 1,000,000,001 chance, kid." Now this is in the '60s, so 1,000,000,000 once would be like, you know, you got 1,000,000,001 chance. So without even blinking, I said, "Well, that's going to be me." And he laughed and he said, "Well, good luck, but you might want to look at something else too, you know," as every father would tell his son. Especially back then, it wasn't exactly a possibility in their eyes that you could make a career as a musician. They just thought of like old jazz junkies and shit, you know.
Well, then fast forwarding, of course, decades later, and you're pretty much the longest tenured member of Ringo's band and all that. And
yeah, man. Well, that's what I mean. And you add it to, you know, all these years later, I worked with Paul first on the Thriller record. Then we did some other stuff for him in the UK. And then, you know, then George, I met George, and he played with us at the tribute to Jeff after Jeff's sad departure. And then we became real good pals for a while, and then he got sick and passed, sadly. When my very first Guitar Hero then became my friend. It was deep for me. And then Ringo was looking for someone. I always wanted to be in the All-Stars. And, you know, we started hanging, and I've been in the band, you know, 7 years, and plus we've just been working on a new record, and we've become great friends. I adore this man. I mean, I really do. Then he invited me to do the Beatles' 50th anniversary TV show, of, you know, 50th anniversary of the night they played on Ed Sullivan. And they asked me to be in the band, all-star band, me and my pal and hero, Peter Frampton, on guitars, and, you know, Kenny Aronoff and Don Was. And it's crazy. It was really fantastic, actually. And it really hit me there. I'm sitting here like 50 years later from the moment I looked on my TV screen in my parents' house to here, and there's Ringo and Paul, and I'd worked with them, and I'm working with all these great stars, and I'm going, Jesus, what are the mathematical odds of that actually happening? It was very humbling, and it really hit me hard. I went, wow, man, I pulled it off, you know, and the lesson learned here is don't ever give up on your dreams, kids, because I was told it was impossible, but impossible became possible because I didn't believe in the word impossible or the word no. You know, no is for when you're doing something bad, not when you're doing something good.
Were sports ever a big deal to you, or was it always music?
I was terrible at sports, man. I was bullied unmercifully as a child. I was really small, shy, super skinny, and terrible in sports. And believe me, they didn't let me forget it. I was tortured on the school bus every day, and I was brutal, man. The guitar saved my life. When I got one and I figured out how to play it, and then it just started to come naturally to me. Then I became a sponge. I ended up hanging out with a bunch of older kids because they wanted me to be in their band, and that sort of threw me in the deep end to a lot of things a little kid probably shouldn't have seen so early in life. But you know, I was never really. What was the word I'm going to say? I was never really a little kid in the sense that once I strapped a guitar on, I had found my place on planet Earth, you know. My grandmother and my mom's mom was a bit of a new ager way before the time. She had some pretty wacky friends, and I was born in 1957, so one of her friends was a psychic at the time, which was really considered taboo, who put her hand on my mom's pregnant stomach when she was 19, and told her that I was going to be a musician, and that was pretty weird, and here I am.
Did you ever, you know, get to come full circle on the jocks by, you know, playing the national anthem at a sporting event?
No, you know, I to me, that's a real touchy thing. You know, Jimmy did the definitive guitar version, in my opinion, and everybody who straps on an electric guitar after that is just doing an impression of Jimmy, and usually some good and some not so good. I don't see the national anthem as a rock star pose myself. I think that I love it when somebody sings it great and sings it the melody without, over riffage, I think it's not, it almost cartoons it when you do it. Jimmy was doing it at a time when it actually meant something and no one had ever done it before. It was considered, whoa, that was pretty heavy. It was a political statement about the Vietnam War. And it meant something at the time. Now it's almost like a Spinal Tap thing to me, I would never do it. I say that now. I mean, plus, everybody at the sporting events, nobody cares about your guitar playing, They don't just get them, we want to watch the game, Also, playing like the Super Bowl or something like that, I mean, that could be career-ending, and it has been career-ending for some cats. Just one bad mix, you know what I mean? And it goes out to 1 billion people, and that's a risky roll of the dice,
Well, looking at everything overall, now that you are a well-selling author and the box set and the songs are getting covered and you're still playing arenas and all that, is there anything that you haven't done that you're still hoping to do in your career?
Well, I'm going to make this documentary, which I thought was pretty whack. All these things it's stuff that I never thought I'd be doing, like write a book, do a documentary, do some other things. I got another solo record on the table. I'm in a band with Billy Gibbons and Kenny Aronoff and Fabrizio Grossi, and there's things to do. I'm going to take some time off after TOTO, because it'll be 2 years on the road, 2 years plus, maybe 2.5 years or something like that, in October when we finish our last date. And, we'll come back down the road and see what happens, But it's right now we're just going through the cycle of the 40th anniversary, and it's 40 years. I can't believe, 43 years, 45 if you count a high school band. My God, I haven't even thought about that. That's terrifying. But that's what family's for, and that's what we are. We are a family.
And what is what is it that keeps you based in LA all these years later?
Oh man, I'm like 5th generation. My grandfather, who was also in the movie business behind the camera, and then my father behind him, and then my grandfather's father, and then there's me, and then my oldest son, and then I have a youngest son. So how many generations is that? 4 or 5 generations?
Sure.
L.A. My mom went to Hollywood High School. My dad went to Beverly Hills High School. Kind of cliche, right? I live in the Hollywood Hills to make it even more of a cliche.
Got it. And do you have any favorite restaurants that you can recommend to readers that are in the LA area?
Ooh, yeah, I do. Best sushi bar ever. Chiba, North Hollywood. Sounds like North Hollywood, really? Yeah, trust me. I've been around the world. I was just in Japan twice in the last 2 months. This is the best sushi bar. Chiba on Lancashire. There's a lot of great restaurants. Marino's Italian in Hollywood. Wow, fantastic. Old school. Family owned, for Sinatra and Sammy used to eat there. Let me see. This all best burger joint. Boneyard Bistro, Kobe beef burgers. Ooh, they have chili dog donuts, like Pink's chili dog in one bite. Oh, look out. Visit your favorite Bob Marley shop first.
So, Luke, I guess in closing, any last words for the kids?
Don't do this at home, kids. Be nice to your parents. Don't do drugs. Take the Uber if you're partying. Let me see. Don't cheat on your taxes. Don't cheat. Don't be a bad person. Be nice to people. What other advice is there? I think it's be nice to people or stay out of the way. It doesn't have to be this difficult. It's hard to read the news every day, isn't it?
Last but not least is my chat with Leah Van Dale, who is better known as WWE Superstar Carmella. Leah recently launched her own line of wines, and we kept the focus of our conversation on that before talking about fitness and career goals. Even though she called me from sunny Florida, there was some wind in the background during our call, so apologies for the temporary audio difficulties, but it's a fun chat.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks. Where are you calling from today?
I'm actually home in South Florida. Nice to be home.
I can imagine. So I want to ask you a bunch of questions about your new brand of wine that you have coming out. And I'm curious when you first got into wine in general.
So I've just always loved wine. Once I turned 21, I never really drank wine before. And one of my girlfriends was like, no, you have to try it. And at first, I honestly didn't really like it. And then the more and more like different types I tried, I started with white, and then I dabbled into red, and now I love red wine as well. And ever since, like, I guess the rest is history. I just, for me, like when I'm on the road, if it's been a long day of traveling, I just like to unwind with a glass of wine at the end of the day.
And it's always been wine rather than beer or spirits for you?
Always. I mean, unless I'm like watching football and eating wings, then I'll have a beer. But other than that, I'm very partial to wine.
So how long was this line of wine in the planning stages for?
Gosh, it's been in the works since maybe August or September of last year. So it's been a process.
And was it that a vineyard came to you, or you just had the idea and you reached out to some vineyards?
I reached out to several different companies, and then this company that I am partnering with, they loved the idea, and the rest is just history. They love that I have a following, and they love everything that I'm really like representing with this wine and this brand. So we've just formed like a really good partnership, and it's been so much fun.
Are you allowed to talk about which vineyard that is, or you like to keep that private?
Yeah, it's Michael Solberg, based out of California.
And so they're one of the companies that you went to and all that. But where did the name, this great name that you have for your brand, where did that come from?
So I'm Italian, first of all, and I really wanted to do something that was authentic to like everything that I do at WWE and Carmella and my background, everything I like to involve being Italian. I love my roots, I love my upbringing. So I really wanted to do something with that, and I just wanted to tie it in with basically, you know, what my career is and what I'm doing outside of WWE. And Capo Cagna translates to boss bitch. So I didn't want to just come out and say boss bitch because I felt like, you know, some people might be offended because it's so blunt. So I figured what's a better way to go about it than the Italian version of it. And yeah, here we are.
Now, it's really great with the branding that you've done so far, where you've pointed out that this is not a wine for wine snobs. Did you know outright that you want to make a wine for the average person that just loves wine and doesn't care about the price tag?
Absolutely. So I'm personally not a wine snob. I don't like to spend more than $20 on a bottle of wine ever, unless it's like maybe a special occasion. But even that, I don't like to, you know, break the bank on a bottle of wine. And I just feel like there's really no wine out there that like relate to or like target, you know, the audience I'm going for, which is, you know, girls like me and guys like me as well. That just you look at the bottle and it's like fancy. It looks fancy. It has like the label itself has like a really cool texture to it, and it looks fancy, but it's actually not expensive. So I just wanted to really target that sort of market where, you know, you're bougie, but you're on a budget.
Right. So you have two varieties that are announced so far, or are there more in the works?
There are more in the works, but right now we're just starting out with a Chardonnay and then a Cabernet. I just want to do a red and a white for now. Potentially we'll be getting into maybe a white Zin, and I definitely want to get some bubbles going because I love Prosecco, I love champagne. But I'm starting it out slow. I just want to test it out and see how it goes and, you know, the feedback we can get. And obviously it's not going to be perfect right away, but I'm just so excited that this is actually happening. So we're going to start slow, and then, you know, there's definitely room to branch out.
Are there plans to use your brand to do other projects and other products in general, or is that just a one-off for the wine?
That's a great question. I really want to create Capo Cagna and like build it as just it's a brand. Like I said, it means boss bitch. So there's so many ways it could go with it. Either it could be clothing, it could be accessories, it could be anything. It could be other sorts of food, beverage. I honestly have no idea. The sky is the limit. And I don't want to like put a cap or a limit on it. So I guess we'll see where it goes. But right now we're going to start out with wine and then, you know, just kind of go from there.
In general, though, where in the process did the name come from? Because, you know, you mentioned that liking to tie everything to Italian, but did you have the name after that you knew that you were doing the wine? Like, was that the last piece of the whole process?
No, it's actually way prior. A while ago, I wanted to start. I have a big fitness background, so I used to teach Zumba and be a personal trainer and all of that. So I was really trying to think of, I was trying to create my own like fitness class, to be honest. And I was coming up with different names and ideas, and I was like, oh, boss bitch, like that's really cool. Like I wonder what that would be in Italian, because obviously, like I said, it's not something a lot of people they might be offended by it. So I wanted to like put it out there, but not be too blunt. And I had found that translation, like this was, maybe 2 years ago. And then nothing ever came from the fitness class because, it's just so busy with my job and my lifestyle that I have right now. So then when I realized I have this opportunity with the wine, I thought, you know what, this is like the perfect name. I didn't even have to like second guess. It was just like it came to me right away, and the rest is, like I said, just history.
Got it. And I believe you were teaching a Zumba class for charity back at WrestleMania weekend. Did that wind up happening?
I did, yeah. I taught a Zumba class, and it benefited Susan G. Komen. So it was really fun. It was in the middle of a mall, and it was just really cool to be there and have our fans there and interact with us. And there were a couple other WWE superstars there with me, but it was so much fun. I love fitness and everything to do with it, so it was really, really a lot of fun.
And before you came to WWE, you were a successful dancer besides the fitness and the training you talked about. Was dance always your chosen sport growing up, or is that just the thing you excelled at and became famous for?
Dance was my life. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. So for me, I love performing, and I did it all through high school, and then I cheered in the NFL for the New England Patriots, and then I was a Laker girl for a year. So, I did the most I could, I felt like, with dance, and I felt like it was time to move on. And like I said, I do love to perform, so that's the best part about being in the WWE is you're playing a character, you're performing for a crowd, and I just love feeding off that energy.
People know you obviously worldwide for your work with the WWE, and they're going to start knowing you more for the wine. But is there something that you wish more people knew about you professionally, or feel that you might eventually try and break into otherwise?
That's a great question. I have no idea. And to be honest, I never thought I would be in the WWE. I never thought I would be a wrestler. That wasn't something that I thought, like, a girl of my size could do. But I'm here and I'm doing it and, having a great time with it. And it's led me to so many other opportunities, again, here with the wine. And without my career in WWE, I wouldn't be able to have this platform and the fan base that I have to explore this world of wine and create my own brand and everything like that. But I've kind of just let things unfold the way they're supposed to. I don't really have a plan. Just kind of go with it because, it's working out for me so far. It's worked out for me my whole entire life. I'm having so much fun performing and traveling the world, and I'm having so much fun learning about the wine business. And I have a degree in marketing, so I'm really trying to put that to use now with not only marketing myself and my Carmella character, but also with the Capo Cagna.
So ultimately, having accomplished all this, you just mentioned going around the world regularly and all that as part of the WWE. But WWE or otherwise, is there a career accomplishment that you're most proud of at this point?
Oh, definitely becoming the SmackDown Women's Champion with WWE because, like I said, it wasn't something I ever thought I would do. I never thought I would be a wrestler. So then to train and be doing it for such a short period of time and reach the height and become champion, that says a lot, I think, about, work ethic and how hard I tried and worked at becoming a wrestler. So to me, that's the ultimate, to know that I can go down in history as being champion because there's nothing higher than that, So I feel very fortunate for that.
And then in terms of your work ethic, being a very productive person, knowing the schedule that you keep up, are you big on to-do lists or calendars, or how is it that you're able to get so much done?
I am so anal when it comes to a schedule and a routine. I've just always been that way since I was a kid. I don't really use the calendar. I don't use anything. It's just always in my head. It's my whole entire life is planned down to every minute, even including going to train with my personal trainer. It's okay, I have 30 minutes to get there and then do my training, and then I have 30 minutes to get to the next appointment I have. Everything is so meticulous for me. It's getting to a point now where I can't even keep track because everything is so crazy with WWE and traveling all the time, and now with the wine. It's just been crazy. So I don't know how much more I can handle at this point, but so far so good.
Sure. Now, you just mentioned training, though. What is it that you usually do to stay in such great shape?
Being on the road, it's a very strict schedule. You're in airplanes, you're on rental cars, you're in hotels. So for me, I always make sure I do cardio every morning when I'm at my hotel, and then I always try to at least spend in 3 days on the road in the gym. And then when I'm home, like I said, I have a trainer I work with for 3 days. I'm home a week. But a lot of times, we're traveling and we're not, our regular schedule, we have 3 days off a week. But that's pretty rare to get because we're always have different tours. We're going to Europe, and then we have Australia, and we're in Japan, and it's always on the go. So I always make the gym a priority for myself.
And then for somebody like you, is diet the biggest part of it, a big part of it, or is it as long as you're exercising 6 or 7 days a week that you can do what you want and you can enjoy all the wine you want?
Well, that's why I work so hard in the gym, so I can enjoy my wine and not feel guilty about it. But for me, I really am big on diet and nutrition because a lot of times we don't have time to get in the gym. You're traveling, you get off the plane, you have to go right to the show, and then it's on to the next town. So if I can't get in the gym, then I have to make sure that my diet is on point. But if I'm pretty good in the gym that week, I'm definitely going to enjoy some pizza and plenty of wine, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So I guess in closing, any last words for the kids?
Gosh, well, I guess the whole message, for Capo Cagna is, being a boss bitch and, never taking no for an answer, whether you have a goal or a dream, if it seems so far-fetched and it seems like something that you could never, ever do, you need to put your mind to it and make it happen because, man, I never thought I would be a wrestler. I never thought I would be able to have my own wine. And I'm not just saying that. I really never thought it was something that could happen. But you work hard and you put your mind to something, you can do whatever it is you want. Thanks for listening to the Paltrocast with Darren Paltrowitz on the Pure Grain Audio Network. More information on the Paltrocast can be found online at www.puregrainaudio.com. Until next time, have a great Shabbos.